Good morning and welcome to Coffee with Dan. This morning I have with me Miss Gill Caldicott from the British Council. She is the country director of the British Council in Sri Lanka, and she had been here in Sri Lanka since August 2017. She had been working for the British Council for over 25 years and has worked at a number of British Council offices across the globe, including London, Hong Kong, Egypt and India. Her most recent posting was in India as country director of operations and deputy director, but now she has shifted to Sri Lanka as the country director and has worked in teaching and training, press and PR, libraries and arts. Good morning, Gill, and welcome to Coffee with Dan.
Good morning, Dan. It's great to be here this morning. Thank you.
So, what made you come to Sri Lanka after serving in other countries? And we know that British Council plays a huge role when it comes to the maintenance of a relationship between Sri Lanka and UK, especially with regard to learning of English as a language, as also that British Council is involved with other activities as well. So, how do you see this?
Well, I came to Sri Lanka because I was very attracted to being here, to the post, to the job itself, but also to the country. British Council works in 110 countries around the world, and a lot of my colleagues are very jealous of me because I've got one of the best jobs in the British Council.
That's great to hear. And I understand that the British Council is now working on the social enterprise. In fact, in my program in Coffee with Dan, I have discussed about this social enterprise previously. But why is British Council working on social enterprise sector? It interests of the organization working in this sector, or what?
Well, let me tell you just broadly about the work of the British Council and how social enterprise fits in. We're all about establishing connections and providing opportunities for people worldwide. And in this case, of course, the people of Sri Lanka. And as you say, those opportunities may come through learning better English, through getting qualifications, through reading schemes through our libraries, for example. It may be through connections in the arts, and it may be through education reform or teacher training, which improves the teaching of various subjects in the education system here. It's all about opportunity, and especially leading to better employment opportunity and life chances for people. And social enterprise fits into that because social enterprises employ a large number of people. Shall I tell you a little bit about how social enterprise works in the UK? Well, it's become quite a significant sector in the UK. There are around 1 million social enterprises in the UK. They employ more than 2 million people, and they contribute nearly £6 billion to the UK's GDP. So they make a significant economic contribution, and we would like to see similar recognition of the importance of social enterprises here in Sri Lanka.
So before I go further, I did mention that in the beginning that British Council started as an institution that provide English education to the other countries, especially in the Commonwealth sector. But how you all have changed into different areas than basically sticking into your main focus of providing English education now into other areas as well?
Well, I guess it's just that some of our other work is a little less well known. We've been working in society, I would say, in civil society for quite some time now. And in social enterprise, we started off about 5 years ago working with partners to get better recognition and understanding of what a social enterprise is. And if I can maybe tell your listeners just a little bit about what a social enterprise is. It is a business, and it will generate profits, But the difference is that those profits, or at least part of those profits, are reinvested in the people who are working for it, or reinvested in a social or in an environmental impact for the community in which it's based. And that's the essential difference. There's both an economic advantage, but there's a social advantage as well.
If I may ask you that British Council surely have the strengths of as an organization to operate in Sri Lanka, in particular addressing different areas of concern, as you very well mentioned about the social enterprise. So what is the contribution and added value that the British Council is bringing into our country as a provider of these kinds of services?
Oh, gosh. Well, we're pretty well known here. We've been here for nearly 70 years, working across the range of activities that you described. And everything indicates that our customers and our contacts really value the work we're doing. We've increased our contribution in recent years, and social enterprise is one of those areas where we've really stepped up. So over the last year, we did some research with our partners, including Lanka Social Ventures, into what social enterprise looks like in Sri Lanka. And we discovered that though the name isn't used that much, in fact, there is something like 6,000 to 15,000 approximately social enterprises in Sri Lanka already. And that means that there are organisations that are both working for a profit but giving back to society, and that's the point for us. I can tell you a little bit about two of my very favourite social enterprises in Sri Lanka. They include, and these are ones that I visit regularly, the Good Market and Celine. So I'm sure your listeners know about those two organisations, but Celine I particularly admire. It's been going for 23 years, and it employs women in rural areas to in the handloom production, and it's provided employment, and it's provided actually, it's reinvested in those women in terms of developing their skills and allowing them to run their own village-based or home-based businesses. It's very admirable. Sincerely, I feel that that's one of the top organisations here in terms of social enterprise. And they, of course, also are fair trade as well. And they have begun to establish an international reputation.
So now, if I ask you about the program that you have focused on developing and promoting the social enterprise sector, how does it work?
Well, I guess we've got a couple of things that I could talk about here. First of all, we produced this study, which I referenced earlier, and that has raised awareness of how much social enterprise is already present in Sri Lanka, but also the sort of investment and recognition that it needs in order to grow and become the significant sector that could really contribute to society. We discovered through this survey that, in fact, social enterprises are active in all of Sri Lanka's 25 districts and 9 provinces, and many of them are operating in multiple locations. And so that was really, I think, quite a revelation when we produced this research. And now we're going on to the next stage, which is very much about raising awareness at the level of policy making. And the conference that's going to be happening next Monday and Tuesday are really about that. So although, of course, people can register, they can come along to the conference, it's very much about getting stakeholders in Sri Lanka involved in carrying this project forward.
So where are these conferences going to be held?
It's being held at Water's Edge, and it will be starting on Monday morning and going through to Tuesday afternoon.
So who are the expected or targeted participants? Can anyone register and come and learn about social enterprise?
We're particularly targeting people who are social entrepreneurs or who are interested in this sector. But yes, if you want to find out more about it, if you want to consider registering, then look online on the British Council website and then search for social enterprise and you can register there.
So now, going back to our main discussion about social enterprise and the work that the British Council is involved in Sri Lanka. Now, you mentioned that that in the 25 districts in Sri Lanka, you do operate your program and promote this concept. But it's not easy, as I know that British Council is active in Colombo and in Kandy, and some people find it difficult to access British Council because you don't have that much of regional officers. So how do you partner with other partners in particular in carrying out and carrying forward this project?
Yes, you're quite right. We've got 3 offices across Sri Lanka: Colombo, Jaffna and Kandy, but we also work with partners throughout the country, and those include state organisations like the Ministry of Industry and Commerce, the Ministry of Science and Technology, Ministry of National Policies and Economic Affairs, Ministry of Finance and the Presidential Secretariat. And then, of course, we connect with many civil society organisations because they are the ones who can take it to the field, to the people. We also collaborate with the private sector, but also financial institutes as well. It's very much a partnership model in order to deliver benefit.
Now, about the conference, I understand from what you mentioned that the idea is to promote social enterprise in Sri Lanka, which is quite a new concept, and you brought in some valid examples. But what's the target group like, and who would really benefit out of what you would deliver at the conference, and how would you also keep the network going?
Well, we have a particular theme for the conference, and it's Think Social, Produce Social, Buy Social. So we do want to raise general awareness of the importance and the impact that the social enterprise approach can have. So our target audience includes your listeners, for example, and it's great that I have this opportunity to talk to them. In terms of taking it forward, then obviously we want to get this into major institutions and organisations around Sri Lanka, and that includes the university network in Sri Lanka. So greater recognition there, the ability to take it forward, and of course I have to say that media are our target, and we hope that you will help to spread the good news.
Yes. Now, you being a very experienced person working all around the world in the British Council network and having over 25 years, as I mentioned in the introduction, I'm sure that you have different experiences working in different countries and how the social enterprise transforms in these countries, especially within the context of UK, and then you are looking at the other countries, especially maybe among the Commonwealth states. So what's your personal experience in taking this initiative forward?
And that's interesting. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my favourite UK social enterprises, and there are lots of them, of course. There's about 1 million of them, but ones that really stand out for me include a magazine that is written by the homeless for the homeless. It's called The Big Issue, and it's sold on the streets, and of course all the money goes back into helping homeless people, and that's been going for some years now. It's very, very impactful project that was started by homeless people for their own community. There's another one. I'm sure your listeners will have heard of Jamie Oliver. He's quite famous as a chef. And as part of his business, he started a social enterprise, which is called Jamie Oliver's 15 Restaurant. And he took disadvantaged and unemployed kids, teenagers, off the streets and trained them to be chefs and giving them opportunities to start their own businesses and start careers. That's another excellent example for me of how social enterprise can really contribute to society. Couple more, but I'll give you one in particular, and this is one in Ghana, in fact. Chocolate, we all love it. Is it produced ethically? How much are farmers paid? There is a social enterprise, a prize called Divine Chocolate, which is farmer owned. So around, I can't remember the number, thousands of small farmers in Ghana actually own that social enterprise and produce chocolate for the richer Western world. And that's another really good example for me. Before I came here, I was working in India, and at the time we were working, not dissimilarly to the way I described Celine. We were working with women who were producing rugs, Jaipur rugs you might have heard of. They're based in Rajasthan, and Jaipur rugs were helping women in rural villages to set up their own organisations and to earn their own income by providing them with looms for producing carpets. So there are certain similarities on the way social enterprise works I would say, in South Asia and across the world.
Now, I would like to put that in Sri Lanka, we see that many youngsters and the younger generation are now focusing on a more technological side, and they seem to have, come out of the traditional block of their parents and not, they're not focusing mainly on the agriculture, for example. So how do you promote the social enterprise within the community, within the people who are living in such a locality, how they can develop their own type of traditional means of living and sort of employment?
Well, that's a very interesting question. Of course, there's no conflict between use of digital and social enterprise. They can, of course, coexist. And I'm sure that there are some excellent examples of digital organisations that are also social enterprise. The most important thing, and I find this is really, it really resonates with young people, is that young people, compared with, I guess, older generations, they are very committed to the societies and bettering the society in which they live. It's a sort of soft political motivation. They want to give back to their societies. They want to see a better society here in Sri Lanka, in various countries around the world. We find this. I believe that there is absolutely no conflict, and it's going to be taken up by the young people of Sri Lanka very, very easily.
So if you're so confident about the success of the social enterprise movement, now promoted and carried out by the British Council in Colombo and the other areas in Sri Lanka, how do you plan the future of the program that you're involved with in the social enterprise sector?
Well, we will be building on exactly what we were just talking about. It's the youth of Sri Lanka. And in fact, around 35% of the social enterprises in Sri Lanka are youth-led. So, up to about 30 years old, 24 to 30 years old is the age range where people really begin to want to give back to society. And so we will be working with young people. We will be working with our partners in order to make that happen.
Let me ask you in conclusion, specifically about the British Council, because you are the country director in Sri Lanka. Now, as we discussed previously. You still have only 3 centers in Sri Lanka. Do you have any plans to expand? Because we see that even in the other areas, people, or especially the younger generation, when they have to go for their examinations like IETLS to qualify for universities abroad, they do have to come to either of these institutions. And how do you expand your network in the future?
Yes. Well, we always take the approach that we can work very effectively through Sri Lankan partners. So, in fact, we do deliver exams further afield than those 3 centres through partner organisations. And that's the model. It will never be possible for us to have physical centres in all the towns or all the villages across Sri Lanka. But by working through partners, we can establish a presence there, and we can help to strengthen those partners so that in the future they will be able to operate quite independently, and we'll be able to deliver the services perhaps that we're delivering at the moment. So a stronger Sri Lanka, a stronger relationship with the UK, that's how we see the future.
This morning in Coffee with Dan, I was talking about the British Council's new initiative in Sri Lanka called the Social Enterprise Movement, or the program that they are involved with Sri Lanka's country director for British Council, Ms. Gill Caldicott. Ms. Gill Caldicott took a post as the country director of the British Council in Sri Lanka in August 2017, and before that she had been working for British Council for over 25 years and has worked at a number of British Council offices across the globe, including London, Hong Kong, Egypt and India. And it's very nice to talk to you, Gill, on this social enterprise movement and the conference that you're going to have under the auspices of the British Council at Water's Edge on next Tuesday and Wednesday. And you mentioned Monday and Tuesday, I beg your pardon, and you mentioned about how to register. You could log into the British Council website or contact British Council, for example, and know more about the social enterprise that the British Council is involved, not only in the centres that they are particularly operating in, but in the whole country, in all the 25 districts in Sri Lanka. So thank you very much again, Gill, for joining this morning's Coffee with Dan.
Thank you very much.